All right, so we don't need to bury the lead here because the Band-Aid was straight up ripped off. You didn't pour any water on it to help take it off. David Stone, the former five-star defensive lineman out of the 25 recruiting class, has entered the transfer portal. And if you're an Oklahoma fan, this one hurts worse than walking into a burning furnace because for so long, the narrative has been Oklahoma can't land the five-star interior guys. And then when they finally do, what happens? Well, after a year of being here, he enters the transfer portal. So today we're going to kind of talk through this, break this down, what is known so far, but we're going to talk about next steps for Oklahoma because I think that's what's most important. Because at this point of the season, you need to be able to have, as one of the guys in our Discord put it earlier, at least 6 guys that you can put in the rotation. Right now, you really have about 5 solid dudes that you can rotate out every single game. And David Stone was probably the cornerstone foundation piece to this defense in the future. So jump in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think about David Stone entering the transfer portal. Obviously, keep it somewhat cordial. We're not out here to say anything bad about the kid, but listen, like the optics don't look great. And initially, the optics look like that this is a money grab. And that's kind of the rumors that are going around right now, that David Stone has hit the transfer portal looking for a better NIL package, whatever that reason is for. But On3 and Pete Nako's first report this, and it was a bombshell of all bombshells for Oklahoma fans. We were really enjoying this transfer portal cycle because you got Jaden Ott, you got Jake Michaela, you were really kind of fixing some of the holes on this team. But defensive line, interior, you saw Taylor Redd and you saw Jim Nagy kind of throwing out some follows for some interior defensive linemen. You thought, hey, maybe Devon Sears is on his way out because that's a guy that a lot of people have speculated would enter the transfer portal. Or maybe it's somebody else. But you felt like Dominic Williams, Jaden Jackson, Grayson Halton, David Stone, they would all be here, and Oklahoma would have a good rotational set of defensive linemen. And ultimately, this was not who you would have thought Oklahoma was looking to potentially replace. Now, why would he enter the transfer portal? Again, you're hearing a lot of rumors, and I say rumors because unless a spokesperson for David Stone or David Stone himself come out and says it, I really don't think we could take any of this for 100% certainty. But as an interior defensive lineman, like this is a guy that has been, kind of somebody that Oklahoma's kind of had to pony up with every single portal cycle to end up keeping. And we know even after he committed to Oklahoma, getting him committed to Oklahoma on signing day was in and of itself its own hassle, right? David Stone, at the time that he committed and signed with Oklahoma, probably could have taken more money to go to another school. But he ended up wanting to come to the University of Oklahoma. And he ended up, Gerald McCoy was a big front in that, trying to get a big-time interior defensive lineman here. And I think a lot of people are going to question, why wouldn't we want to pay to keep an interior defensive lineman at Oklahoma? How is it we finally get the 5-star and you can't pay to keep the 5-star here? And I think all of those questions are absolutely valid. And people might ask, well, what makes you think we're going to pay to get another defensive lineman in? And I think you're going to pay to get another defensive lineman in that has produced at David Stone's level or a little bit better, but maybe doesn't cost as much as David Stone. The only thing that I think really pisses me off here about David Stone entering the transfer portal in Oklahoma, and I'm not saying they did not do everything they could. I mean, Oklahoma probably did everything they could and more to keep him at Oklahoma. The one thing that pisses me off, though, about this whole situation is Oklahoma really needed to gain some momentum with not only Todd Bates being able to develop great defensive linemen, but also get some defensive linemen into the NFL draft. And I think this upcoming season, you're going to see Grayson Halton and Dominic Williams really make a case for themselves to be in the first 3 rounds. But Jaden Jackson and David Stone, I thought really had the potential to try to crack into the first round for you. And without David Stone, Jaden Jackson's kind of your only hope. And as most Oklahoma fans kind of expect here, hey, Are we going to be able to keep Jaden Jackson without David Stone? Because that's what you felt like. You felt like you got Jaden Jackson because of David Stone being here. So certainly everybody's validated right now in wanting to know, like, are we going to be able to keep Jaden Jackson? Are we going to be able to pay him to keep him here? Is Oklahoma going to be able to pay again to get another 5-star interior defensive lineman? What does this do for optics? All of that is valid, and we're going to find out more information as the weeks go on. But the real question is now, what does Oklahoma do now that David Stone's in the portal? What do you turn to and try to go out there and grab? Now, obviously, the portal cycle is not over yet, so more guys can still enter. And I know this is not going to be very popular here, but Southeast Missouri defensive lineman Jalen Stone is scheduled to visit Oklahoma, per QC Sports tells Steve Wiltfong. This is over at On3. 6'3", 295-pound redshirt freshman. Posted 35 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks in 24. So he'll have 3 years of eligibility remaining. So kind of on the David Stone timeline, right? Would still have 3 years, just like David Stone. Maybe at this point in time, a little bit cheaper. So you kind of look at how he graded out at Southeast Missouri State. And again, it's Southeast Missouri State. So we got to take all of this with a grain of salt. But overall, graded out in the entire season at 83.3 in the tackling grade, 88.6 in run defense, a 79.1 overall defensive grade, 69.9 in coverage, and 61.1 in the pass rush. You look at him, didn't miss any tackles that he would have been able to account for. This is the guy that you bring him in and probably could plug and play, don't miss too much in terms of a production standpoint. The question you really got to ask is, does his game translate to the SEC, where David Stone had kind of been in the program? He had seen the SEC, so you kind of knew David Stone was ready, maybe could take on the challenge. Maybe you're not 100% sure about Jalen Stone being able to take on that challenge, but this is definitely an option for Oklahoma to be able to go out there and look at. Now, the other one that entered the transfer portal that is definitely interesting is Murad Watson. Murad Watson out of Syracuse entering the transfer portal here. He is a freshman, so he'll have 3 years of eligibility as well. This past season, 30 total tackles, 15 solos, 1 sack, 1 pass breakup. And again, you kind of look at him, and although didn't grade as well as Jalen Stone in a lot of metrics, you can argue that although he didn't grade as well, he's pretty close, and he played in a much better conference, right? He had to play Division I talent week in and week out, going up against Miami and at Cal, where they had a guy like Jaden Ott or a UNLV or a Stanford or a Virginia Tech. And although that's not like the most prestigious top-tier talent, like at least the guy has experience in there, and also 6'3", 313 pounds. So he's kind of a fatty right there. So ultimately, either one of these would be great options for Oklahoma. And I definitely think they're options that Oklahoma and Jim Nagy and Taylor Redd will take a look at. But this is one of the big first portal casualties that you're seeing for Oklahoma in this cycle. It might not be their last. I think there's potentially one more that you could be expecting. But one name to throw out there that nobody's talked about, I'd be interested to see if Oklahoma would circle back around here as just a key young piece that maybe you could bring in with maybe some upside, is William Spencer, 6'5", 305 pounds, transferring out of Louisville. This past season, didn't play very much, but 4 total tackles, 1 solo there. So you see William Spencer as potentially another possibility. I think Oklahoma, to replace David Stone, probably has to take at least 2 interior defensive linemen. I still think maybe you have 1 portal entry on the interior defensive line as well, which is why you probably need to take 2. But this probably is not it in terms of big-time portal shockers for Oklahoma, or just finding out that guys are going to leave the football program and maybe go pursue other sports. You guys can put 2 and 2 together there. So, guys, I want to hear from y'all. Join the discussion. Let me know what you think about David Stone entering the transfer portal. Obviously, this is a bombshell. This is huge. This isn't something that Oklahoma fans were expecting. So let me know what you guys think. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys hit that like and do hit that subscribe button.